Hey everyone, I am back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. For those of you who tune in every single Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live, welcome back. And for those of you who are brand new to Mental Health Moment, welcome, welcome. We are here live every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, again on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. For those of you watching the replay on Dr. Nikisha Hammond YouTube, welcome as well. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for those who are starting to join here. Let me know in the comments here where you are tuning in from today. For those of you who are new, I reside in the Tampa Bay area, Florida, but typically I'm traveling somewhere or another in the world with different obligations. But today I am in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. So again, welcome, welcome here. Thanks so much for tuning in here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Before I share today's mental health moment, I have something a little different for you all today. But before I share that, I wanted to give a quick reminder to you. So for those of you who are new to Mental Health Moment is about how do you become the best version of yourself so you can show up powerfully for yourself and for those around you. And for those of you who are just in a season of your life where you're like, what in the world is going on? Things are hectic, things are crazy. That typically happens around this time of year as we get into the new year here. I wanted to remind you to keep going because it's really, really important that you continue to have that mindset. And thanks again for those who are starting to tune in here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. The reason why I'm sharing that in particular today is because tomorrow, Wednesday, of course, I cleared a part of my calendar to have my own mental health day just to recoup and reset and recharge because this year has been very busy, which I knew it would be. It's the year of publishing a book, and that is just what comes with the territory, and launching new projects and all those sort of fun things. But nonetheless, behind the scenes, it's very busy and very hectic. So tomorrow, which is Wednesday, depending on where you're at in the world, my tomorrow is Wednesday. But yeah, so I planned to do a mental health day. Well, of course, because that's just what happens sometimes. Yesterday I got a flat tire. And this is actually my second flat tire in the past couple of weeks, you all. I don't know what's happening here. I don't recall like some specific area. Everybody's been asking me, like, are you driving through construction zones? And I'm like, not that I'm aware of. So nonetheless, tomorrow, a part of my mental health day, I will be taking my car in to get the tire back on. I have a donut on right now. So I'll be getting a new tire tomorrow. But nonetheless, my point of that story was to share, please remember to just keep going. So I've decided, because it's a choice, right? I could have said, oh my gosh, woe is me. Here I am, another flat tire. I wanted my mental health day. I had all just things that I wanted to do on that day, but instead I'm taking the part of the day to go and see about this tire. Right. So, but everything, for those of you who've been tuning in a mental health moment, you know that my word for 2024 has been perspective. So I've been thinking about that often, by the way, too, you all, but I often think about perspective. And what if I say, hey, thank goodness that I'm safe and no harm came to me from these flat tires. And I actually did pencil out a little bit of time tomorrow for a mental health day, which I then now actually do have the time to go and take my car in to get the tire replaced, or not replaced, but the tire repaired and all those sorts of things, right? Like, it's all about perspective. So I just want to remind you of that today, because again, there's a lot of us, it's just a heavy, hectic time for a lot of people, and it's important to keep perspective in mind. And hi, good evening. Thanks so much for joining here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. So I'm going to go over what today's mental health moment is about. If you have a pen, a paper, good evening from San Francisco. Welcome, welcome. Let me know where you're tuning in here from in the chat. But for those of you who have pen or paper, or you're jotting something down, maybe on your phone and your notes or wherever you take notes, today is a good day for that, because I have some questions for you. And before I ask you these questions, these are questions that I want you to think about for yourself. I'm going to ask you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Here's the thing I don't want you to do though. Don't go into the self-blame game. So wherever you're at, and hi, welcome from Dallas. Welcome, welcome. Wherever you're at in this journey, I want you to be honest with yourself, right? When you're answering these types of questions, these are things that just allow you to reflect, right? Because before we can make changes in our lives, we have to reflect on where we're at, which I've seen time and time again in a lot of my work throughout a lot of different communities, that not from a place of blame, but we do tend to neglect ourselves, right? Maybe that's just how we were wired and how we were trained growing up. But here we are as adults and we know better. So let's do better, right? My Angelou, my girl. Okay. So here's what I want you to do. And thanks for those who are still starting to join here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Here's what I want you to do. If you have your pen and paper ready, or again, you're jotting down paper or jotting down answers on your phone or computer or wherever it is that you want to jot this information down. So one of the things that's really critically important is that you work on growing emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally. But in order to take those steps, you have to really assess for yourself where you're at in those categories. So I am going to go through each of the categories, and I just want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like, oh my gosh, I am not in a good place in this area whatsoever. I have so much work to do, right? Just really, really low score. 10 being like, I'm a superstar, I'm good, I feel good about this area, I don't need any more changes. Like most of us, right, all have somewhere to grow in each area of our lives. But it's cool. Like some areas you might be like, I'm a strong 10, which is great. Right. Even if you're at a 1, though, in whatever area that I give to you, I want you to remember this is for your own assessment. Now, what you do with this information is like the action step, right? But first is the awareness. So and thanks for those who are still starting to join here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Okay, so the first area is emotionally, how you're doing emotionally, right? So one of the areas, so for each part, I'm going to give you 3 subparts to think about. So in emotionally, how you're doing, the first thing I want you to think about is your self-awareness, meaning, do you feel you understand your emotions? Do you understand what triggers you? Do you know what makes you mad? Do you know what makes you sad? Do you know what makes you nervous? Because those things are really important to know what your triggers are. If you're going to work on yourself, it's really critically important. And it's okay, again, if you don't know, right? This, by the way, let me put a little asterisk on this conversation today on mental health moment. This is not a substitute for therapy by any means. This is just something, and this isn't like diagnosing you or anything like that. I work in the world as a psychologist of psychological assessments, and it is a thorough process, like hours and hours of testing. So this is not it, y'all, but these are just things that I want you to think about for your mental wellness. Okay, so the first area, and hi from Boston, welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. So the first area, again, under emotionally, is on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you feel your self-awareness is? Actually, let me put that in the chat. Let me put number 1. And hopefully you guys can see the chat, and hopefully it'll go through. There we go. Okay, good. So self-awareness is the first thing. Scale of 1 to 10, again, not from a place of judgment, just from a place of awareness for you. Where are you at with that? 1 meaning like, oh my God, I don't think I have any self-awareness. I have no idea what triggers me. I just get angry. I get sad. I get nervous. I have all these emotions. I don't understand my emotions. I don't understand what's causing all these emotions. I don't understand what my triggers are. That would be like a 1. 10 is like, no, I'm good. I know what, kind of sets me off. I know what makes me happy. I know what makes me feel all these different emotions. I understand my emotions that I'm going through really, really well. That would be a 10. Okay. All right. So the second part of emotionally how you're doing is your empathy levels, meaning how do you, like, one thing is self-awareness, understanding yourself, but how are you understanding other people? Are you able to have compassion? Are you able to not necessarily feel other people's pains, but understand and connect with the emotions of other people? right? So your empathy levels. How is that on a scale of 1 to 10? So again, if you're just tuning in here, it's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Today we're doing something a little different. I know normally I'm teaching you guys different tips, but also a part of mental health moment is you taking the steps to work on your own mental wellness awareness, right? So that's what we're doing today. So again, scale of 1 to 10, how you would rate yourself as far as empathy, right? Because that's also a really important piece. We all interact with each other. How are you hopefully empathic towards each other? How are you connecting with others? How are you showing your compassion or showing your empathy with others, whomever it is, your friends, family, coworkers in those different situations? And again, not from a place of judgment, but 1 to 10. So jot that down. The third thing under emotional, the emotional category is your emotional intelligence, meaning uh, do you understand how you can regulate your own emotions, how you can deal with your emotions, how you can cope with your emotions, right? So let's say we're all different social beings. So some of you are really like just naturally happy, or you're naturally angry, or you're naturally sad, or you're naturally anxious. Like there's some type of emotion that you are, and then you work on being maybe something else. Right? So if you just know, like, man, I have an issue with depression, then you might be working on dealing with that depression. Or if you feel like, man, I'm always nervous, you're working on like getting to not being as nervous, right? But nonetheless, understanding your emotions and how you regulate them. That's And good evening, thanks so much for joining here. That is emotional intelligence. So again, even if you're just now tuning in, what we're doing today is something a little different. So let me re-explain for some of the newbies coming in here for each of these areas. And if you miss some of these, you can always watch the replay on YouTube. Like all the replays of Mental Health Moment are on Dr. Nikki Hammond YouTube. So you can always watch it there. But essentially, you're rating yourself from 1 to 10. And these different areas we're on right now, emotionally, how you're doing. We're going to go through physically, spiritually, mentally, and these different areas for you to think about, what are your strengths? Like what are areas you're like, man, I need to work on this area. For me, if we're talking about personal growth, which is what Mental Health Moment is all about. So those are the three areas for emotionally. Let me put the other ones in the chat here. So empathy. So the first one was self-awareness. Second one was empathy. There we go. Comments going through. And the third one was emotional intelligence. Okay. For emotionally. The next part is mentally, how you're doing. So the first part is what we would call, I'm going to explain what this means, because cognitive strengths. Let me just write in parentheses, problem solving. So mentally, how you're doing. When you check in with yourself and you say, on a scale of 1 to 10, and you say, how are you doing solving problems, right? Some of you are excellent problem solvers. You're like, I know what to do. I'm good. No stress. I'm there, right? You're at like a 10, or you're at an 8, or you're at a 9, or something high. And for some of you, it's like, man, it's a struggle. Like things come up, stress comes up, and it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to solve this problem. And I don't mean, sometimes there's things that are so overwhelming that we're like, man, we don't know what to do. Not those situations, but like the majority of the time. How are you doing with your cognitive strengths? How are you doing with looking at this situation and solving it? So that's number one under mentally, how you're doing. The second thing, which I love, because we often don't think about this, is how are you doing with your creativity, right? I love this aspect of thinking about how you're growing mentally. And this is on a scale of 1 to 10. Again, you're rating yourself today. But I love this aspect because we often don't think about our creativity. The reason why, because we're so doggone busy, you all. we're overwhelmed with all the things that are happening. Every time a new headline comes out, it's just, we're inundated on social media, we're inundated on the news, we're inundated with things in our personal life. Like there's so much to think about. And when you don't take a step back to mentally say, like, wait a minute, how am I working on my own creativity? That's really, really important. All of us, I strongly believe, all of us have gifts, right? So your gift may not be the same as mine. So by the way, for those of you who are artists, congratulations. I think that's like such a cool gift. I know some artists that are incredibly talented. I have zero talent in that area. Like I can draw a stick figure and that's about it. So like kindergarten level, okay? Seriously. On the art, like on the drawing side, not it's not my jam. But for you, that might be where your creativity is. You're like, man, I'm an artist. I draw or I paint or make some sort of amazing artwork in some way. Like that might be your creativity and how you best express yourself, which is incredible, right? But knowing where you're at on a scale of 1 to 10, um, like, are you able to bring that creativity to life? Are you allowing yourself? You all know, for those of you who are not new to Mental Health Moment, that I talk a lot about taking a minute for yourself. Every day is 60 seconds minimum. But in that time, that really helps with your creativity too. What happens is a lot of times our creativity gets stifled when we're so busy, we're so overwhelmed, we're so distracted by everything else going on and not allowing ourselves to express ourselves creatively, whatever that looks like for you. For me, my creative superpower is writing. So that's what I love. That's what I love doing. Writing. I write all the time. Right. But for you, you might be like, oh my gosh, like I have no desire to write or I have no desire to draw, but your creativity is in something else. Right. I know, yeah, there's a lot of different areas for creative. I can go on and on. But wherever that is for you on a scale of 1 to 10 right now, where would you rate yourself mentally of how you're doing? Okay, the third one for mentally is, I'm going to put in the chat. Okay, is focus and concentration. So, mentally, how are you doing when it comes to your focus and concentration? Of the thousands of people that I've interviewed at this point in my career, like the vast majority have been like, I am struggling with my focus and concentration of many, 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 many people I've talked to. Now, I am not here to diagnose you by any means. If you truly are struggling with focus and attention to the point, well, anyways, yeah, I'll say to the point where like you can't function in your job, you're having difficulties at home, or it's really impacting your life, you may want to reach out to a mental health professional and see if there is a true disorder or not. But also, and again, I'm not here to diagnose you tonight, but also know there's a spectrum when it comes to focus and attention. So for you, you're rating yourself on 1 to 10 where you feel you're at with that. Do know that there's a gazillion people out there that have issues with focusing who have no disorder. Um, ADHD is one of my subspecialties. It's something that gets thrown around a lot, but there are people that are undiagnosed who should be diagnosed and are not aware that they have ADHD. So, nonetheless, the point is you are evaluating yourself tonight on how do you feel you're doing with your focus and attention, focus and concentration. Another thing that affects focus and concentration is how busy and hectic your life is. So everyone always thinks, that's why I wrote a whole book about ADHD, you all. So everyone always thinks immediately like, oh, I can't focus, I have ADHD. Like I hear that all the time. And as someone who specializes in this area, I can tell you not everything is ADHD. You might be having issues with focus and attention because you're stressed out, because you're nervous, because you're depressed, you have too much on your plate, you have a physical health ailment of some sort. Like there's like 20 other reasons that might be an issue in your life. Yep, someone said they focus on my work, right? And you guys feel free to put in the comments here. I know I'm writing in the comments today too, but feel free to keep jotting in the comments. It's all good. But it's just again an area for you to examine today, an area for you to think about and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, so 2 more parts to go. Physically, let me put this in here. Oops, let me put the main topic so you guys know. Okay, so physically, oops. Okay, there we go. The comment, hopefully you guys can see the comments. They're coming in kind of slow for me for some reason today. All right, so when you look at yourself physically, and then we're going to do spiritually, and then we're wrapping up because I know I'm going a little bit over today. When you look at yourself physically, all of us have different strengths and abilities. You might be 90 years old watching this. You might be 20 years old watching this. Generally speaking, you might have different physical ability levels because of age, because of all sorts of things. Again, not an ageism thing because by the way, there are 90-year-olds, 90-plus-year-olds that I've seen who lift so much weight, who are doing like marathons and all sorts of super cool things. So again, just saying like it could be related to age or not. I do want to say that. But nonetheless, when you rate yourself today on a scale of 1 to 10 for yourself, where do you feel that you're at with your strengths and your physical abilities? There's no right or wrong answer for this. Just looking at something that for you to think about. The second thing is your, oops, hold on, let me put the physical, oops, I can type. Goodness gracious. Physical, there it is. Your physical wellness habits, meaning being honest with yourself, your nutrition, your sleep, how you're taking care of your body overall. What, like, where are you at with that process? I've told you all many times, for those of you who are not new to Mental Health Moment, there was a time, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Way better now, where my physical health habits were not good. Definitely not proud of that. But again, not from a place of self-blame, a place of like looking back to like, wow, why would I do that to my body? And now is like high priority for positive physical health, right? So making sure the nutrition is good, making sure getting enough sleep, making sure to meditate to help physically too, with my body and those sorts of things. Like that's where I'm mentally at now. But nonetheless, for you, being honest with yourself, you might be at the point where I used to be, where it's like, wasn't getting enough sleep, wasn't eating right, like just wasn't paying attention to physical health. You might be there. You might be like, I'm like at a 1 or 2, or you might be at a 10 where you're like, I'm good. I made the changes I need to make. So again, just jot that down for yourself. Um, again, these are areas for you to really look at. Where do you need to make some changes? All right. So the third thing under physically is, this is so good. Wait, okay, there. This is so good. This is one of my favorite ones under physically. How are you doing? Your body awareness. What does that mean? Are you listening to the signals of your body? Your body will tell you, I'm exhausted. All right. Sometimes our bodies scream at us like, please get rest. Like, please slow down. Please get rest. Please take a break, right? Your body will tell you that. That's why, you hear all these stories, sadly, of people who end up in the hospital, end up passing out, end up some type of major health issue, or something's happening because they didn't listen to their body, right? Our bodies give us signals. Our bodies tell us, sometimes it's the opposite in a good way. It's like, okay, I'm feeling good today. I'm energetic. I can do whatever it is that you needed to do or not. Right. So when you think about your own body awareness, where would you place yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? Again, 10 being like you're good. You understand the signals that your body gives you. You listen to the signals that your body gives you. Or 1 is like, just like, I really need a lot of work. Or maybe you're in between. Maybe you're at a 5 or somewhere in between there. But again, rate yourself in that area as well. Okay. Last part. We're finishing up. Okay. Spiritually. The first one for you to think about rating yourself from 1 to 10 is, oops, if I could type right, Lord. Beliefs. I can't type today, y'all. Beliefs and your values. So when you think about what gives your life meaning, this is kind of a not tricky one, but it's okay. So spiritually, meaning like, have you taken the time to think about your life's purpose and your life's meaning? And what's interesting about this one, you all, is of, again, the thousands and thousands of people that I've interviewed of all ages, the youngest person I ever, well, I don't say interviewed, but talked to, ever on the therapy, not therapy, because I'll do therapy anymore, but in the private practice side, was 3 years old. And then the oldest, I think like 96, somewhere around there. Right. So I've seen like everyone. And what's very fascinating is I've met a lot of people who are still struggling a little bit to understand, like, what's my life's meaning? What's my life's purpose? And it really goes across like all age spans, all ethnicities, all religious backgrounds. Like a lot of people struggle with that. So my point is, if you're not sure, if you're like, I don't know what my beliefs are, or I'm not clear on my values, and you might not be at a 10, which is okay. You don't have to be a 10 on everything. This is about growth and just things to look at. Then just know that that's okay. Because I've heard that a lot, actually, that you know, we all find meaning and purpose at different ages. For some of you, maybe you already know, maybe that happened or you understood that earlier on. Maybe you're at a point where you're at a career change right now. You're like, nope, that wasn't, or maybe, the first part of my however 10, 15 years of working, I knew a certain thing or my life's purpose or whatever it was. And now it's changing, which is okay too. But again, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, we got 2 more to go, you guys. All right. So the next one, which is another one of my favorites, is if it goes through, yes. Okay. What is your connection to nature? Meaning, are you spending the time that you need in nature to connect? So a lot of things with spiritual growth. And again, a mental health moment, we are open to every race, religion, background, religious belief or not. Like everyone is welcome here. But connecting to nature can be a very spiritual thing for a lot of people. So if you think about however you spend time in nature, if it's lakes, rivers, mountains, if you're in the snow, probably not. What month are we in? April. Okay. Yeah. Some places still have snow. I live in Florida, so I don't know what months have snow. We don't have snow here. But wherever it is, right? Whatever type of climate you're in or wherever that you can be a part of nature and connect, where would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 with that? And then the last part, you all, the last part under spiritually, oops, I need to type that better. Okay. The last part, as I wrap up here too, is inner peace, right? So when you rate yourself, be honest with yourself again, when you rate yourself on what is your inner peace level? Now, especially for this one, you all, this will change depending on when you ask yourself this question. If you rate yourself today and you're like, I am good, Dr. Hammond, like I'm at a 10. I have so much inner peace. I've worked on myself. I've done my, my changes, my personal growth, professional growth, and all these mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, like had all this growth. And now I have inner peace. That might change next year. When something pops up, or you might be in a season right now where you're like, man, things are rough, like I am, struggling emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, like because there's things happening in your life that you have to deal with, and maybe your inner peace isn't where you want it to be, right? But again, the purpose is rate yourself on the scale of 1 to 10, where you're at today, right? Which may have been different 2 years ago. Probably it was different 2 years ago, and it may be different tomorrow and a year from now. But for today, where would you rate yourself on the scale of inner peace? All right. So super long mental health moment. Normally for the newbies, normally it's not this long, but I wanted to share this with you all because a lot of times I teach you all a lot of different tools, but I also want you all to make sure that you're having the time to reflect for yourself, asking yourself these questions, look at how you rated yourself. So for each of those areas, whatever your numbers were, there's going to be numbers that are higher, going to be there's going to be numbers that are lower, right? You look at, okay, here's like a good strength, start to circle your strengths, and then you may be looking at some that you're like, oh, this is a little low, which is an indicator, okay, let me try to work on this area, right? The goal is not to be perfect. This is not like, I don't know, the Olympics or something. Like you don't need to have like perfect scores here. Like that's not necessarily the goal. The goal is more about awareness because these numbers change. So again, these numbers are going to change next month. They'll change next year. They just do. But you always want to be in a state where you're like, let me ask myself, like, how am I doing? Right? Let me check in. So I wanted to be more concrete because I know I tell you all the time to check in, but here's like an example of a concrete way for you to check in. All right. So as I wrap up here, just a real quick reminder, May 24th and 25th in Philadelphia, I will be speaking at the Get to Worthy Summit. You can register at gettoworthysummit.com. Excuse me. You can use my promo code Hammond10 to get a discount. Yay. And if you need me before next Tuesday, sorry about that. Excuse me. If you need me before next Tuesday, you can go to my website, drnikishahammond.com. Of course, I forgot my water today. My voice is getting a little dry, y'all. Oh, but nonetheless, I'll be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here live on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, you guys.